Hey, good morning to everybody. Happy Wednesday. It's Daryl here. It is 6 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. I want to talk about yet another incident. And again, I have to watch how I phrase all this. About 3 weeks ago, I talked about Casey Goodson Jr., a man with no history of problems with arrests or anything like that, having lost his life at the hands of the police department. Yeah, being shot while entering his home with a Subway sandwich, getting shot in the back. Okay, now here we are 3 weeks later, and yet there's another police shooting. This was just Tuesday night, Columbus, Ohio. The name hasn't come out yet. I believe it was a 47-year-old unarmed black man. This is the way I understand it. Police got a complaint that there had been a SUV running on and off for a period of time, starting up, turned off, starting up, turned off. It sounds to me like somebody was trying to warming it up, maybe having car problems. It was a non-emergency call. Police show up. The garage doors open. A man walks out holding a cell phone in his right hand, or a cell phone in his left hand, and his right hand in his pocket. And police open fire and kill him. This was just yesterday, Tuesday night. This just happened. This 47-year-old man's name has not been released. To the mayor's credit, he is calling for the badge and gun of this police officer already. This is why I talk about these incidents, because I'm afraid that they all start blending together, and that's the scariest thing of all, that we hear about one, and then another one, and then another one. Unarmed black men being handcuffed for no reason, shot in the back. And my fear is that if it were me, if it were my family, my fear is that it would just become, back page news. That the wrongful taking of if it was my family, the wrongful taking of somebody in my family's life, and nobody even paying attention to it anymore because it's become so routine. That's why I make these videos, because I want to talk and look at each person who this has happened to. It bothers me that I didn't even remember who Casey Goodson Jr. was from 3 weeks ago. I just made that video, and I had to look up the facts again. Then I was like, oh yeah, the Subway sandwich. Supposedly, somebody reported that he was waving a gun driving down the street. He was licensed to carry a gun. Police found him at his home, I guess, and he was entering his home with a Subway sandwich. And he was shot in the back. And these incidents, I just talked about one again yesterday. Joshua Feast. It happens too often, way too often. Once a year is too often, but this is just too much. So I'm going to do another video again as soon as we find out who this 47-year-old man's name even is. Another troubling thing with this incident too is the officers didn't turn their cameras on until after the shooting. With these cameras though, the way they work is somehow they record 60 seconds of time before they're turned on, except without audio. I think that might be the case with Joshua Feast yesterday, because we had some camera footage with no audio. We couldn't hear the gun. There was no muzzle flash with the Joshua Feast incident that I just talked about yesterday. Like I said, every time I talk about one of these shootings, one of these incidents, or whether it's Jamar Mackey being handcuffed in front of his family in a mall, I always think, the first thing I think of is if that were me sitting with my family and somebody came up and handcuffed me, if that was my brother being shot in the back. Like I said, it appears that there's some people look at it like that, with empathy and compassion. And some people look at it, well, that person's nothing like me. They probably did something wrong anyway, and they probably deserved it. They probably had it coming. And unfortunately, that's how some people look at these incidents. Anyway, I just wanted to talk about this, and I definitely will be talking about this again as soon as we find out the name of this 47-year-old man, lost his life, Columbus, Ohio, shooting Tuesday night. All right, you guys have a good Wednesday.